some year between 1917 and 2017 between West Asia and East Asia. The village leader saw that the solution was quite impossible. The problem has started a long time ago, and now it was too late. Like a chess match, the previous 6 or 7 moves only started to make sense now. He told his consultant there's nothing we could do at this stage. It's hopeless. It's never hopeless, was the typical reply that he thought he would most likely hear from the consultant. A very typical scenario that had happened countless times in the past. He even forgot when he first realized that this sentence had caught his attention. The village leader came to leadership, not due to some charisma he had, or not due to some inheritance he received, but rather on account of his old age. That was the cause of this man's rise to village leadership. He always asked himself, if there was someone else at this age, would he be more qualified to this position? Was it merely lack of competition that made him leader? That was a scary thought he'd rather avoid. The consultant was 10 years his junior, but his appearance made him look 30 rather than 40. At 50, the village leader was half gray, and his whole disposition spoke of a man of 50. Maybe he looked wiser than he in reality was. He always tried to live up to the impression held about him by the village people. They always looked at him with admiration, as if he was a very wise man with long years of experience and life. The story started to get to him. After being leader for a year and a half, he almost started believing that he in fact was a wise man. This trait almost manifested itself in his home, where a year and a half back, he was merely a bitter man seeking attention from people who long lost interest in him or any of his affairs. Now, he was regaining recognition, if not by the city folk, well, at least by the village folk, and definitely by his family. People's situations change in this world, and although they take time to take form in reality, change is inevitable when there is something real and genuine. He was shaping up. Yet there was something that he feared. He feared that he would be put to a test that would expose him, his weakness, his lack of wisdom, and little knowledge. 1. And now, it appeared to be happening. The very thing he feared seemed to be at his doorstep. A series of thefts swept the village in the past month. 4 cases in the past month, and almost never in the past year and a half. 4 families reported waking up in the morning only to see that they had no furniture or jewelry in their houses. Disturbing news. More disturbing was the fact that whoever was stealing was never detected by anyone. No one noticed anything suspicious. No one heard or saw anything. Neighbors who were questioned said they felt nothing out of the ordinary. Was this the doing of some supernatural creature? Or was it the doing of a man, or a group of men? If so, those people were like shadows that leave no trace. People were beginning to ask questions. Debates were taking place in the village market. People were getting into constant arguments, and fights would occasionally break out, especially now that many people were pointing fingers at each other. This was just the beginning. Now, people were looking to the village leader for help. Here, the village leader was expected to provide comfort, when he himself needed more comfort than anyone else. Was this a message sent from some enemy? No one knew. How could he give something he didn't have? People didn't care. All people wanted was someone confident, who appeared to know what he was doing. That was the assurance people needed. People who follow an uncertain leader lose confidence, even when he manages to provide a real solution in the end. A leader who inspires confidence, even though fake, is better than one who comes up with solutions in the dark. At night, he stayed awake, proving to his family at least that he was on the case, imagining his wife telling the village women that her husband stays up nights trying to solve the case. The wives would then tell their husbands, and then the husbands would approve of him and reach the conclusion that the leader is a good leader if he solved the problem that was due to his wisdom. If he didn't, then the problem must be bigger than they thought, since with all his wisdom and sincerity he couldn't make it go away. Yet that was his worst nightmare. If a layman were to solve the problem, then that would undermine the village leader in all aspects. Actually, it would make him the village fool. If it came to that, he would immediately pack up and leave the village with his family under the cover of a dark night. He told his wife, "I think we should cut down on our expenses. We are spending too much nowadays." 2. But you're the village leader. You have to spend. You have to appear wealthy and powerful. You have to send a strong message to all who envy you. That's part of your responsibility as leader. You have to instill fear in the hearts of your enemies. True, but I believe we have more than enough. It is wise to keep some extra cash on hand for any unforeseen circumstances. Such as what? We don't know. But there is always something happening. There is always something unexpected taking place. I think you worry too much. This is about the recent thefts? Well, trust me, before you know it, the thief is bound to be caught by someone. He stayed quiet. He seemed worried. How would that play out? How would that look on him? He wore his best dress and walked out of his mansion, accompanied by 2 of his 6 guards. People were looking at him with some amazement, even after a year and a half of seeing him almost at least once a week, if not more. It was on one rainy and windy day that people gathered around his mansion demanding a solution for this problem. Although no one had any ill intention, he felt some deep fear aroused within him. Those very people who gathered in front of his mansion were held in check by the 6 guards. Those very people could instantly turn into an angry mob, with which savagery it could act no one knows. To his surprise, the words didn't fail him. He said in a loud and decisive voice, "Calm down, everyone. I understand your problems, for they are my problems." Here someone shouted, "Not everyone has 6 guards like you do." The thought worried him. The people know how many guards he has. I mean, yes, they're only 6, but to even take their number into account is an act of its own. The leader had no time for this, and pushed on. At times like these, we are tested, and it's times like these that distinguish the strong from the weak. Someone laughed. The leader kept going. "This problem is under investigation, and we're closing in. We do kindly appreciate the help of the people, and will remember at such times where everyone stands." He thought he might have added a threatening tone to the last statement, but then someone 3 said, "Just get this problem over with, and put that lowly thief behind bars."